Welcome back, everybody, to another reality check episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. That's right, today we're traveling down to California to witness an inmate get sentenced for killing his cellmate. And I'm here to tell you that this type of stuff happens all the time, and the end result is pretty much the same. I've never read a story where an inmate killed another inmate and they beat it on self-defense. If there's one out there that y'all know of, send it my way and I'll probably do a video on it. But typically, like I said, this is the end result. Regardless of whatever crimes your cellmate has, it doesn't give you no right to kill that person either. At least in the court's eyes, that is. Many other people look at this guy as a hero, believe it or not. But as always, before we get into the details of the case and the sentencing, if you're new and enjoy all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Richard Henry Kase, 41, was sentenced to prison once again for the murder of his cellmate, 28-year-old Randy James Robulos, at the Dual Vocational Institution in Tracy. And I was reading a little bit on that prison. It says it was shut down in 2021. Not quite sure, but that, from what I heard from many people, used to be a gladiator camp, man. A lot of people lost their lives at that place. Robulos was serving a 3-year sentence as a sex offender. Kase was serving 11-year sentence for illegal weapons possession at the time. 11 years is a hike, but his life ain't over, right? With some good time, man, he can get out in under 10. If I were to guess, but Robulos was definitely a short timer with just 3 years. But he's a sex offender, you know, in the code of conduct, especially in California, if you're part of an organization for sure. It's green light status, man. You got to remove that dude by force. If not, then you're going to become no good and you're both got a little green light on top of your head. You know, and no one wants that, right? So they go ahead and handle business. I'm not saying that that's the case with this situation. I'm just saying that's how, you know, a lot of inmates trick their time up, I guess you could say, get more time added to their sentence like the individual today. But moving along with more details on the case, on a December morning at 7:20 a.m., a prison nurse and a correctional officer delivered medications to a prison cell shared by the defendant and the victim. The nurse gave the defendant his medications and asked about Robulos, who was on the bottom bunk covered by a blanket. The defendant, Kase, said that he had an emergency. His cellie was dead. A rag was shoved into the victim's mouth and rigor mortis had set in. The defendant was removed from the cell and voluntarily said that he did it. The defendant said, "I did it. I killed him. It's gonna come out anyway." Then the defendant also says, "I should have waited until after breakfast. I sure am hungry. Do you have a burger?" Wow, you know, there's a lot of situations and stories that I've read where murderers immediately went and got some grub. Kind of creepy to think. The defendant also said, "I didn't feel bad being in a cell with a body all night, but it did bother me when y'all took me out." Wow, this guy's a maniac. He was getting some good sleep in there with old rigor mortis, man. Unbelievable. Now, the details in this case, I can't even tell you all of them. It gets very graphic, so I'll just keep it PG-13. You can do your own research on it if you want to. But according to a trial testimony, 41-year-old Kase told Randy James Robulos, 28, to be quiet before he punched the cellmate in the throat several times. He then shoved a towel down his throat, pinched his nose closed, and said, "Goodbye, Randy." It was a calculated, methodical killing, said the county deputy district attorney, who prosecuted Kase in a trial lasting about 3 weeks. Jurors deliberated for just 1 day before returning the verdict. Now we're going to be jumping into the courtroom to witness a couple things. First, like I said, a different side of stuff that you've probably never seen. These sex offenders, believe it or not, have family members that still love them. And they weren't sentenced to death. Robulos only had 3 years. They were expecting his return. And they're going to be speaking in the courtroom today, all right? When you have loved ones fighting for you regardless of the crime, trust and believe that the courts are going to hold justice for those loved ones. And this is a prime example of why a lot of people, if they find out someone does have some filthy charges or something like that, unless it's forced upon them, like I was speaking about earlier, I mean, they just let it ride. Let someone else handle it. Why am I going to risk turning my 5 to 10 years into a life sentence? Then I won't even be able to see my own family. And that leaves many people with the same question asked over and over again. Which one's doing more harm than good? Now let's jump into some of those victim impact statements, the sentencing, and a turn of events unlike anything you've ever seen.
Randy affected each of our lives in his own unique way that can never be replaced. As a result of Randy's death and the bond we shared, all of the above-mentioned people have lost me too, in a sense, because I'm so overcome with grief. We prayed that Rick suffers just as Randy did, and we are now. We hope that my son's dying life remains with him every waking minute, and that God fills him with so much remorse for murdering Randy that it will be unbearable for him to think of anything more.
I just want Rick to know that prisons are built for people like you. The percentage of people in prison are rehabilitated, but you won't. So enjoy your stay. In my heart, I feel sorry for your children. They cannot pick their parents or live up to the expectations of what they see. Some leadership you show them.
My cousin's life wasn't yours to take, so I say to you, the angels protect my cousin in heaven, but my family here on earth. We won't stop fighting for my cousin. You got what you deserve. You will never get out. Enjoy your new home, evil man.
First of all,
Alright, so as you can see, that was the victim's mother, father, and cousin speaking on his behalf. Keep in mind the victim was a sex offender, but that doesn't matter to him at all. They still love him. And you heard what the cousin said, we're not going to stop fighting for justice. Hope you enjoy your home, you evil man. I believe, don't quote me on that one. I can't really recall, but yeah, you know, the family's affected by it. And a lot of people don't see this side of the table. You know, they just see the black and white sex offender got killed. Yup, that's the way it goes in prison. But once again, like I said, there's a crazy turn of events.
it would really be nice if Richard Kase had some family members to come down and say nice things about him the way Randy's family has. But all he's got in this world, and all he's ever had since he was a child and his mom used to go out drinking and leaving him behind, was his sister. And his sister and he did the best job they could in raising each other up, trying to be good people. I cannot imagine what was going through the minds of the people at DVI when they housed a convicted child molester with my client. And I cannot imagine what was going through their minds when he asked to be swapped out because he couldn't take it anymore, and there was a delay of 1 or 2 days. Not much in the terms of 11 years sentence that the defendant never should have been convicted of in the first place, but enormous day or 2 delay in Randy's life. He's suffering from chronic hepatitis. He's going to die in prison, no matter what the court does. And frankly, I think that the court should give him a chance to at least have a date that's reasonably done so he can keep his heart up, keep the heart up of his sister Timmy and his children, and so that the record of Rick Kase is left behind in their minds is not of this grievous felony that occurred in DVI, but that of a loving father and brother.
The court would pronounce a sentence of 25 years to life. That's an indeterminate term. However, pursuant to 667E2A, the court is required to, at this point, enhance that 3 times the punishment for the count conviction. Accordingly, the term for count 1 would be a minimum of 75 years to life. There's further an enhancement as to count 1 with 3 serious felonies pursuant to 667A of the Penal Code. And the court would impose an additional 5 years as to each of those for a total of 15 additional years to be served consecutive to the base term in California. Accordingly, the aggregate term of imprisonment for the counts and enhancements would be a minimum period of 90 years to life.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 90 years to life added to his 11-year sentence for the killing of his cellmate sex offender. I can promise you the sentences similar to this is going to be coming your way if you decide to take the law in your own hands as well. I promise, man, I've seen people get like 15 years for strong arm robbery of cookies in jail. Think they won't give you a life sentence for killing someone? Think again, man, think again. But like I said, there was a crazy turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Casey was serving an 11-year sentence for illegal weapon possession at the time. Ironically, the conviction was overturned and dismissed just 7 months after he killed Robulos. If he never did what he did, he'd be a free man right now. Possibly with a little lawsuit, little chunk of change. Who knows, you know, if he had the right attorneys. But, you know, he tricked his time up. Let this be a rude awakening for many people that might be heading down that dark path. Weigh your options. If your life ain't at risk, I'd rethink everything, man. Don't be listening to all these guys saying, man, I did da. They wouldn't do nothing to these dudes if they were in the cell with them. That's a guarantee, because 99% of people, they want to go home on time. Get their time done and move it along and never look back, right? But I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did and you're new, hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. And stay tuned. I got plenty more content coming your way. In the meantime, though, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and more importantly than anything, weigh out your options, make the right choices, and stay free.